Hey, it's John and Mike from brew-juice.com. Tonight we're breathing deep and we're talking about oxygen-free brewing.
We're breathing deep.
We're breathing deep. Got to get the oxygen in where we can.
So oxygen-free brewing?
Oxygen-free brewing.
Michael, tell me more about this.
Well, I think there's a new philosophy emerging. Some people are doing it, and I know that there's like a German homebrewing board out there where some people are really trying to limit the amount of oxygen they put into the beer. So much so that they're even going to the extent where they pre-boil their mash water to drive off all the O2.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
This idea that you're generating like oxidation in your mash before you even get going. But I think the more practical area to talk about oxygen-free brewing, more specifically, would be what steps can you take to really reduce oxygen in the finished beer? I don't want to even get into the mess of what may or may not be happening on the hot side, pre-hot side.
Okay.
I think hot side aeration on the homebrew level has been largely tough to actually witness. So, but anyway, oxygen in the finished beer is what we're talking about.
Okay. So you're talking about transferring from fermentation vessel into either your keg or bottling?
Yeah, so finished beer obviously is, you want to limit the O2 there because you can get oxidation or staling flavors, sherry-like, cardboard-like, paper-like.
I've gotten those
flavors.
on judge comments when I put beers into competition.
So then another thing too, lately I think we've been trying to brew some beers that are a little more hoppy, and a lot of people now are trying to brew more hoppy beers. That Galaxy Pale Ale I did, we're drinking a little bit of a sample of it now, but that Galaxy Pale Ale that I did, and I talked about how there was no aroma left, when I felt like the hop bag was at the bottom of the fermenter, and while I was waiting to see if it was carbonated, I was pulling samples, and I was dry hopping for 4 days, and then I said, okay, it's 4 days, I'm going to pull the bag out. I put that question on the AHA forum. Is it possible that I sucked out all the aroma goodness from the bottom of the keg because I weighted the hop sack down? And a couple of people jumped in right away saying, oh, well, when you open the keg and pull the bag out, you oxidize the beer, and that's bad for hops. Now, my opinion is that cold beer that's in the process of being carbonated, there's no O2 in the keg anyway, that certainly you open the top and you reach in there with a long spoon and get the bag out, you're introducing some oxygen to the surface. But, you know, it's cold beer. That reaction, that oxidation reaction, is happening at a very low rate. Does it happen? Absolutely. But for the 30 seconds I had the top open and pulled that hop bag out, I can't believe oxidation is not ruining the hop character in that beer like that. If it is, it's going to happen over time as we're drinking the beer, serving the beer. Before I pulled that bag out, it was super aroma driven, and then when we tasted it on camera, the aroma was gone. I think it's because I pulled it all out and enjoyed it myself.
Oxygen, man.
So anyway,
ruined your beer.
But it made me think a little bit more about what are the ways that we can reduce oxygen in our finished product. And one way to do it, people are doing is closed transfers. So if you've ever wondered why your orange
what you looking for?
carboy caps, what are these guys?
Oh, there it is. He's gonna get it. Here we go.
I'm getting it.
Don't worry about it. Don't you pay
We're
attention.
back. We're back. One of these guys.
Yeah.
Why are there two things on here? It's always been strange.
You don't even know. You don't even want to know. Continue.
So what some people do actually is you can drive. I actually have one, a stainless steel racking cane, through one of these. Usually the center one is a little bit bigger. And then on this guy here, you can actually attach to this from your CO2 tank, if you're a kegging person, a line from your regulator, and set the PSI at a low enough level, like 5 PSI. And as long as this maintains a good seal, you put some head pressure on top of that beer, and it comes up the racking cane and goes out into your catch vessel.
Nice.
So when you're kegging, you want to purge your keg with CO2 several times, empty keg, and then you can go from here, and that's a closed transfer, and you really minimize your O2 there. I mean, you don't get down to zero oxygen, but it's one way to really reduce it. So one thing too that I've noticed too, because you still bottle a lot of your beer, and over the years I've always felt that some of your beers have a much nicer flavor profile sometimes than my beer. And I've been kegging for a long time, and I bottle very little. I actually think that when you pick up some oxygen as a bottler, that the yeast scrub that out before you get a lot of oxidation character. So if you're not super careful, or at least if you're sloppy, and sometimes I'm definitely sloppy, about filling a keg because the fermenter's been sitting around too long, it's like, I just got to get this in a keg, and I'm going to drink it over there. That you gotta, you should really purge, minimally you should purge your kegs with CO2, which I don't always do.
Yeah.
But I think when you're using a bottling bucket and you just fill it up, and then you have your sugar in there and you bottle.
I'm definitely
yeast,
introducing a lot of oxygen in that process.
The yeast cleans it up.
Yeah.
It's always bothered me too when I use an auto siphon.
Yeah.
That sometimes it's coming through the top of the cane, there's like a point there where it's rushing out of the cane into the tubing, and there's a gap there, and you can hear it, you can see it, and you try to pinch the tubing and get that air bubble out of there. That's always bothered me as being a pickup source. Or if the seal isn't the best on the cane, you're sucking some air in there too. So these are all little steps you can take. And maybe when you are brewing hoppy beers, these are little steps that probably pay off big rewards. So I was actually thinking about, in my brewing, maybe I've always wanted to try this, but I might reduce my batch size down to 4 gallons.
Okay.
Ferment in a corny keg with a shortened dip tube. And then when it's done fermenting, purging a second keg, I have a black to black beverage connector, a jumper with just like 6 inches of tubing between it. And using the CO2 hookups, all the fittings, as opposed to this, you've got to actually come up with some of the fitting.
And make sure it's a tight seal.
The keg is closed, all the oxygen has been either consumed by the yeast or purged out of it during fermentation. And now you've got a closed system, you purge a thing. Then I was listening to another podcast today. During that transfer, I never thought of this, the receiving keg gas outpost with a tubing into like a jug of water creates an airlock, so you're not getting O2 in the receiving keg when you push out of the fermentation keg. So I think I might try a couple batches at 4
closed system.
So I think what I want to do is I'm going to repeat the Galaxy Pale Ale.
Yeah.
And I want to do it completely closed.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to make sure I invert the freaking keg to get that hot bag, or maybe I'll let the hot bag float in the top this time. But just get it going before I then transfer into the receiving keg. Now it's less beer, but we've talked about in other videos that maybe I don't want 5 full gallons of beer. Maybe I could get away with 4 gallons of beer and drink it faster than I could 5 gallons of beer. So.
And then you're going to go back on the HA forum and you're going to say,
ha!
Or something.
Hopefully none of our viewers are on the HA forum.
Hopefully they are. I think that to see them see you, right? Would be pretty entertaining.
It would be cool.
So, all right, man. So
closed transfers.
Closed transfers. Is that like that's what you're?
That's what I'm going for.
All right. So that's.
Do you have any experience with closed transfers? Let us know. Tell the story.
So do you think by the closed transfer that you just spoke of?
I've done it a couple times before.
That will eliminate oxygen.
It really brings it down way lower than other methods. The other thing too is like a lot of people talk about a CO2 blanket. Yes, on a molecular level,
I want a CO2 blanket right now.
CO2 is heavier than O2.
Yes.
Just think about it for a second.
Carbon.
It is. But those gases are so, if there's any air turbulence, they mix. You don't get like this heavy blanket of CO2 that's impermeable to O2. They mix. And as you're filling a keg, as you're breathing, they mix. It's not that, and the diffusion, they want to mix anyway.
So it's more of a sheet than, say, a comfort.
When you hear people talking about CO2 blanket, you just say, Brew Dude said, no go. No go on that. So, aha!
H-A-H-A-H-A.
So closed transfers, I think that's what's coming up in my future, to try to just see if the beer comes up. And we've got that carbonator cap. I want to try to do some oxidation experiments. I want to deliberately oxygenate some beers. If we had a production crew, maybe we would have done that in advance of this video. Those guys.
They're not there.
They're not there. So.
Great, now I'm
fill out an application. Go to brew-juice.com and fill out an application.
I'll put up an application form. We might actually get some applications. We can't pay anything, but the experience.
We can pay you an oxidized beer.
How does this taste? Horrendous. I'm so glad I signed up for this stuff. All right. Well, let's do a video when you have your closed system set up.
Yes.
All right. Cool. All right. John and Mike, brew-dudes.com. It's all about getting oxygen out of your beer, and we'll do that. We're not breathing heavily.
Oh, sorry.
That's creepy.
That's a different video.
Brew on.
Cheers.
That's a whole different video.
It's our other channel. Check it out.
We don't have another channel.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Hey, it's John and Mike, brew-dudes.com. Let's just...
Don't worry about that. That's a good B-roll.
That's good. Okay,
That's a
ready?
good, yep.
Are we ready?